The West is interesting, and I just thought about it in this way, and I'm curious what you think about this. It feels like, and I'm saying this about the West, this may actually be a description of the entire league with the exception of the Celtics. Even with teams like Cleveland, where we're seeing what they're doing, right?
Yeah.
Their crazy record they have. Oklahoma City, the crazy record they have. Or even Memphis, who isn't as good or that high up. They're still like, third in the West, looking at who the best teams are. It feels like every team in the league is either over the hill or under it. They're either past their primes or they haven't reached that place. And it's odd to be in a league where it doesn't feel like you've got, like, obviously Denver's won a championship. They're battle tested. You could say this about, say, Milwaukee, but this doesn't at all feel like the same team that they had in 21. It doesn't at all feel like the same team the Warriors had in 22. It is a world's different team that the Lakers had than in 20, right? So it's not like these teams that have been slugging it out for years.
Right.
You look at Oklahoma City, and I think a lot of people just say to themselves, nah, you got to lose more before you get there. And then you look at a team like the Clippers, and you're like, oh, man, I think they missed their chance. But it really doesn't feel like for anybody other than Boston where you're like, yeah, it's time.
Yeah, no, that's what's great about this year to me, Bo, is other than the Celtics, and it's the same team in Denver, but it feels different. Maybe that's because KCP's not there and Bruce Brown's not there anymore. It doesn't feel like the same team. Like they're depending on a lot of younger guys that really haven't been there in those kind of moments. So to me, Boston's the only team in the league where you can go, Boston's a favorite because they've done this before. It's the same group coming back. They've been in this cauldron for several years. They know what they're doing. Everybody else, and this is not a slight on Cleveland or OKC, they got great young teams, but they haven't won anything yet. Orlando hasn't won anything yet. Like Memphis hasn't won anything yet. So until they get on that stage and win 2 rounds and get in the conference finals, how can you really say that they're a threat? Like they haven't proven it yet. Like they will. Ultimately, 1 or 2 of them will break through and prove it, and then they'll be on a different level. But they haven't done it yet. And so to your point earlier, if I'm Golden State, I'm like, I ain't afraid to play Oklahoma City in the playoffs. We've won championships. They ain't won nothing. Let's go. So they're not going to be afraid to go play them or Memphis or, any of the teams that are up at the top. And so that to me is what makes this upcoming playoffs really intriguing because it's young talent that's got to figure out how to win at the next level. They got the regular season down. They know how to kill in the regular season. Playoffs are different, and you got to figure out, all right, how do we win a playoff series against a good team, against a well-coached team? You know what I mean? Like it's a different level. It's a different level of preparation. It's a different level of detail, all of it, and you got to go through it to figure that out.
I think how you feel about Denver is how you feel about this incarnation of Jamal Murray, right?
Yeah.
Because I think what we learned about that championship team versus this one was Jokic still has not played with another player who made the All-Star team, like with him. That still hasn't happened. He, to me, is by far the best player in the NBA. And that depth was necessary to allow that greatness to account for the fact that they didn't really have, like, Murray's the number 2 in their 2-man game and in a pick and roll, all that stuff. Okay, cool. But you like your second best player to at least have been good enough to make an All-Star game at some point. Yeah. Without that depth, man, it's tough on them when Jokic is not.
They got very small margin for error, very small. It's literally, is Michael Porter's back all right today? That's their margin for error. You know what I mean? Like that's where they're living right now. So they don't have any margin for error. Like the depth that you mentioned again, KCP and Bruce Brown. They had vets, that had been through some wars. KCP had won a chip with the Lakers. You know what I mean? Like so, they had guys that weren't fazed by the big moments in the postseason, that played well in the postseason. And just having Bruce Brown as your backup point guard just changes everything. You know what I mean? Like Westbrook's having a great year for them. Don't get me wrong. Russell's having a really good year for him. But, Bruce was a 2-way player, like played at both ends and did some really good things for them. So it's different. That doesn't mean they couldn't go on a run. It just means if they don't have everything working perfectly, including young guys giving them productive minutes off the bench, it's going to be hard for them to win. Now, Jokic is so good, it may not matter. It may not matter if Murray gives them anything. And I think he's played much better of late, but they don't have the margin of error they had a couple years ago.
Now, where are you on Memphis? Because I'm not personally sure. Like that year, they were good. everything went haywire and they were at the part of destroying themselves in the playoffs. So I feel like we never even got a true handle on how good, like what the baseline was for what this unit could be. And now this year, they're third in the West, comma, but. I feel like everything with them is just a comma, but.
Yeah, I mean, Ja's been in and out of the lineup. Like you part of me goes, well, they're third in the West, and Ja hasn't really been there a whole, as much as you would want him to be. It's not like Ja's having an MVP season. You know what I mean? Like, so they're winning games without their best player really kind of controlling things. Like, OKC, SGA, who the best SGA shows up every night and gets 35 every night. You know what I'm saying? So it's different. So you think, well, maybe Memphis has another gear if Ja gets healthy and is ready to rock in the playoffs, so you think about that, but I keep coming back to, but I haven't seen this group do that together yet. I haven't seen this group with Jaren Jackson and Bane and Ja and now Santi Aldama and guys like that. Like I'm intrigued by their young guys and what they've been able to do, but young guys don't usually keep doing this in the playoffs. They just don't. Just look it up. Don't take my word for it. Look it up. So the guys that are giving them great minutes in the regular season, I need to see them do that in the postseason. And if they do that, then Memphis has a different gear. They have another ceiling. But I'm not quite convinced yet because I haven't seen this group with these leaders, win multiple 7-game series to get to conference semifinals and finals. I've seen them put up good fights and lose. Now that's not a criticism. That's what I've seen over the last few years with this group. Now, you get calluses, you get better, you get more mature. All of those things are possible. So Memphis could go on a roll here, but I haven't seen them do it yet. I need to see them do it first.
And once again, everybody feels over the hill or under it. Like that's the thing with the Rockets. The Rockets feel squarely under the hill. And my thing with the Rockets, I am largely a believer in Ime and how good a coach Ime is. But I sure did watch Ime leave a team, and they would have got it done, and it was okay. And I cannot forget that year that Ime got them to the finals, boy, they almost got walked down by the Heat as they would blow leads and just be like, what is happening here? What are you guys doing? I'm so curious to see this team when they get to the postseason. As an Ahmed Thompson believer, yeah. I am very curious to see how this goes. But again, like you say, it's the calluses. They don't have any of those.
They have none. It's just different, Bo. The playoffs are different, man. Like they're completely different. Like it's just everything's different, and so it's just not normal for a team that's never done it. And that's why the Warriors run is so intriguing. One of the many reasons, but they just kind of came out of nowhere and said, "No, we're the best team in the league now. We're the best team in the world now." Like, really? You are? Yeah. Like we'll show you. And they did, so, and that's not normal for somebody to just kind of come out of the blue like that. So what intrigues me about Houston is that they really are a defense first team. And I think other teams play good defense, but it's not really their personality, right? You know what I mean? Like, OKC's a really good defensive team. They're an excellent defensive team. I think they're number one defensive rating. But their identity is SGA getting buckets. That's their identity. You know what I mean? Like Memphis's identity is Ja yamming on somebody. That's their identity, or throwing a lob to somebody. But I think Houston's identity is getting stops. You know what I mean? Like using that length to just like disrupt offenses and make them miserable. And that can take you somewhere in the postseason. You can win games in the playoffs if you play great defense every night. And so I'm intrigued. I want to see it because you do have to score some, even in the playoffs. So I'm intrigued to see where do they go for their buckets when they got to get one. They got to have it in a 2-point game in game 4 of a playoff series. Who are they running the play for? I want to see that. And can they do it?
I know who they're running the play for. They're running the play for Ahmed. That's who they're running the play for. Like, I think if they handled this season correctly, it will have been a building action to get yourself to that place because he's that guy. I mean, I guess I I don't have a real number 2 answer. I guess you could say you're running it for Sengun, but nah, you're not going to do that.
Probably not, right? Because I can double Sengun. As good as he is, I can double him and get the ball out of his hands. So yeah, I'm curious to see. Maybe it is Amen. You might be right. And so but I need to see that in the postseason. I need to see, all right, what do you do in crunch time?
Now that the NBA All-Star Game has come and gone, the season is starting to heat up, which means you could turn $10 into $1,000 in a single game watching your favorite teams only on Prize Picks. You can make a Prize Picks lineup with NBA or even college basketball in as little as 60 seconds. Sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Quick withdrawals, easy gameplay, and an enormous selection of players and stat types are what make Prize Picks the #1 fantasy sports app. So make sure you go to prizepicks.com/Bomani and use code Bomani for a first deposit match up to $100. That's prizepicks.com/Bomani. Prize Picks, daily fantasy sports made easy.